What's going on, everyone? In this video, I'm going to walk you through one of my full body training sessions. I know that for me personally, I find that one of the best ways of learning is from observing how other people do things. My intention in sharing this full body training session with you is that you might be able to take something that I'm doing and find that maybe it's helpful for you on your journey to making some serious gains. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Sam Kaplan. I'm a natural bodybuilder and a physique coach, and I've been pretty fixated on building as much muscle as is naturally possible since I was around 13 years old. Just before we get started, it would mean a lot if you like this video. Each like does a lot to support the growth of this channel. Thanks in advance. All right, let's head over to the gym and get this party started. I started this session off with two tough working sets on the leg press. In the context of my full body training program, I'll always start each session with the most demanding lower body movement of the session first when I'm at my freshest, which, as of right now, is either the leg press for today's session, Romanian deadlifts for my day 2, and Bulgarian split squats for my day 3. Since I'm aiming to squeeze out as much stimulus as possible for my quads, I've positioned my feet lower on the sled and aim to move as deep as humanly possible at the bottom of each rep, whilst minimizing the amount of lower back movement that goes on. A little bit of butt wink is probably fine as long as there isn't any pain associated with it, but it's still probably best to keep it minimal.
I think I broke my bottom.
Oh, broke your bone, Patrick, you're a card. Woo!
I found that prioritizing that my midsection is strongly braced, particularly at the bottom of each rep, is helpful not only to minimize butt wink, but also for stabilizing my body. The more stable my body is, the more force it will be able to produce.
Use the force, Luke.
To do this, I breathe in as I lower the weight down and make sure I'm completely tanked and fully braced by the time I'm in the lowest position. And I exhale once I'm at the top quarter-ish of each rep after I've broken past the sticking point. As far as my tempo goes, I intentionally move slower as I lower the load down and aim to move more explosively on the way up. For the leg press, my personal preference is to choose higher rep ranges, generally between 12 to 20-ish reps per set. Right now, my first set rep target is 15 reps, where I'll do as many continuous reps as possible, which right now is landing at around 12 reps for my first set, and then finish the rest of the set taking small 1 to 4 second micro rests at the top of each rep until I finally hit my rep target, which is intentionally pretty darn close to my true failure point. The leg press might be, for me, overall, my favorite quad-focused squat pattern movement, since it ensures that my quads are absolutely the limiting factor of the exercise. and not my cardiovascular system, spinal erectors, or my ability to maintain my structural integrity, which is often the case with other squat pattern movements. Next up is 2 hard sets of these good old-fashioned bodyweight neutral grip chin-ups. The exercise hits most of the upper back musculature and the biceps, but with an emphasis on the lats and teres major. As far as technique goes, I'm trying to keep things as strict as possible, especially considering it's very easy to start using momentum and swinging around with an exercise like this. 2 broad, helpful cues for me when doing these are to keep my chest up and to aim to keep my tempo in the pocket. I'm including this only temporarily in my program in substitution of my lat prayers, which recently hit a bit of a sticking point over the past few months. I'll aim to continue trying to add more reps just with my body weight for the next week or 2 with these before switching back to the lat prayers. I hit 15 full reps for my first set with a few partials at the end, and 13 full reps with a few partials for my second set. 2 working sets of lying leg curls to hit my hamstrings is up next. My rep target for my first set here is 15 full range of motion reps. Alas, I only managed to hit 12 reps at this load for my first set. It's probably going to take me a decent chunk of time to hit those extra 3 reps if I don't genuinely plateau beforehand. I'll typically end each set with as many partials as I can manage, usually somewhere between 1 to 4 of them. Quick side note about the partials is that I find that the closer I can really get to failure with my full range of motion reps, the fewer partials I can do by the time I get to the end of the set, which really does seem to make sense. After my second working set, I drop the weight down by 4 increments. One increment is 10 pounds on this machine, and then I'll do as many reps as possible with partials included. That usually ends up being only a few full range of motion reps with somewhere between 1 to 3 partials. 3 sets of dumbbell lateral raises are next to smoke my side delts. I position the bench in front of my body mainly to help remind and encourage me to keep the movement very strict and to minimize any use of momentum or swinging. I don't necessarily use the bench as a means of supporting my body, but more so as a tool for proprioceptively cueing me to keep my hips locked in place. Ironically, the deeper I get into my training life, the more I see the value of keeping the weights lighter when performing lateral raises. Nowadays, I rarely do these with much more than 20 pounds. But that's just the thing. When keeping the movement super tight and in the pocket and removing any momentum or swinging, lifting much heavier than 20 pounds isn't really possible for me. My delts seem to be getting bigger though, so I'm definitely cool with that. As far as my reps go for each set, I'm doing something a little bit out of the box. For my first set, I do upwards of 12 to 15 reps with a few partials at the end of the set. I conceptualize my first set as being a kind of primer set where I establish my mind-muscle connection and start to get a bit of a pump. I've kind of surrendered to the fact that my mind-muscle connection is almost always not that great for my first set. My second and third sets, however, are where I feel the real magic starts to happen. For my second set, I start with 15 pounds and do as many full range of motion reps as possible, along with as many partials as possible after those full range of motion reps, and then I'll drop down to 10 pounds. From there, I'll do a set of as many full range of motion reps and partial reps as I can tolerate until taking a short 4 to 5 second rest, then rinse and repeat that. Then I'll take another 4 to 5 seconds of rest, and then I'll rinse and repeat that once more.
Holy shit.
To progress, I try to add more full range of motion reps and partials whenever I can across any of those sets, but I mainly see those long sets as a challenge to endure as much tension and the feeling of burning on my delts as I can possibly tolerate. For my third set, I'll more or less do the same thing, but I'll start straight away with 10-pound dumbbells rather than starting with the 15s, since by that point, my delts are close to already feeling like scrambled eggs. I've been taking a similar approach to training my delts for the past year for almost every lateral raise variation I've rotated through. And honestly, it really seems like I'm gaining a bit of size there. So I think this is working. Next up is 2 deadly sets of this slight incline dumbbell bench press to wreak some havoc on my pecs. My first set rep target is 10 for these with 95-pound dumbbells, but I only managed to hit 8 reps for my first set in this session. And honestly, I've been stuck at around 6 to 8 reps with this load for several weeks now. That being so, I'm not ready to change load or how I'm progressing and will keep aiming for 10 reps.
Never give up, never surrender.
As far as my technique goes, I prefer to lower the dumbbells absolutely as much as possible to where I can feel a deep stretch across my chest. You might also notice that my elbows are more flared than what many fitness coaches and professionals will tell you is quote unquote healthy for the shoulders.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
This positioning is great for me though, since I feel virtually no shoulder pain as long as I keep my tempo and setup in the pocket, and I feel massive amounts of tension across my chest, exactly where I want it. If you find that flaring your elbows out this much isn't comfortable for your shoulders, you can always tuck your elbows in a bit. And if you find that you aren't able to move this deep, I would probably default to trying to do so just with a lighter load. Nearing the end of this session, I've got 1 working set of preacher curls followed by 4 myo rep sets of them to hit the old arm cannons. Myo reps are essentially rest pause sets where you only take a short rest period between each set. I'm taking around 30-second rests between each of them. This is essentially what I did with my dumbbell lateral raises earlier on, but now here with longer rests compared to the 4 to 5 second long rest that I was doing with my lateral raises. For the first set here, I did 8 reps and then immediately dropped the load by 20 pounds and started the myo rep sets. With the lighter load and shorter rest times, I managed 5 to 8 reps for each of those sets. Why do myo reps instead of regular straight working sets, you ask?
Why, Mr. Anderson, why?
It's largely personal preference for me. Again, similarly to the lateral raises, my approach is that of aiming to endure as much metabolic stress and tension on my biceps as possible. It leaves me with a great mind-muscle connection, and I get an outrageous pump to where my biceps feel practically massacred by the end of it all. It could be argued that progressing with straight sets would lead to just as much muscle growth as all of these myo rep sets that I'm doing, and that could very well be true. This is more of a personal preference thing for me. And last, but certainly not least, are 2 working sets with this cable overhead triceps extension. You might be watching this and thinking, wow, that looks awkward. And even for me looking back at this now, I would agree that it, does look kind of awkward. But this is the shoulder and elbow position that's most comfortable on my joints, simultaneously with leaving me with the best mind-muscle connection with my triceps. One of the things that I've learned over the years is how what's classified as being good technique or a good setup might actually vary from person to person. For me, this is the best setup, but for someone else, it might look different and it might look less awkward.
Cool beans.
I prefer higher rep sets for my tricep extensions or pushdown movements, since mid to lower rep ranges and heavier loads often leave me feeling elbow pain not long after incorporating them. For my first set here, my target is 20 reps and I managed to hit 19. I think in the next session or two, I'll manage to hit that 20th rep and then bump up the load thereafter to progress. And that's a wrap on this session. In case you're wondering, the session typically takes around an hour and 45 minutes to finish. If you have any questions about anything that I touched on in this video, please go ahead and drop your question in the comment section below, and I'm gonna do the best I can to answer you. If you liked this video, please let me know by dropping it a like and subscribing to this channel for more videos like this one. Feel free to follow me on my Instagram account for more fitness content as well. Thank you so much for watching and supporting this channel. As always, lift hard, lift smart, and I'll see you in the next video.